Hello ocean people, I'm Brent and welcome back to the channel. On your right, we have the Insta360 Ace Pro 2, and on your left, we have the GoPro Hero 13 Black. Today, we're going to compare both of these great action cameras for underwater video. If you've watched my previous reviews of action cameras, or years before that, read my articles putting these cameras to the test and pushing the limits, you'll know that for this comparison, I will let the cameras speak for themselves. I'll show you real underwater footage to emphasize the camera aspects we find most important as scuba divers, freedivers, snorkelers, and ocean people. Nearly all media publishers require the product in order to create a review or comparison, and Insta360 was kind enough to send me this Ace Pro 2. So my job is to get these cameras in the water, and your job is to look at the footage and leave your opinions in the comments below. Does that sound good? Let's get to it. Before we jump into image quality underwater, let's take a look at the bodies of both of these action cameras. You'll see that the Ace Pro 2 looks very different from the GoPro Hero 13 Black. On the back, the Ace Pro 2 has a 2.5-inch LCD screen, which is larger than that of the GoPro, and it is brighter according to the specs. We will find out underwater. And while the front on both cameras does have a screen, the Ace Pro 2 does not show your picture when you're filming in selfie mode. But instead what it does is it has that rear LCD flip up for shooting selfies like this. So if you're using the camera underwater without the dive housing, you can flip the screen up, around, and you can see what you're shooting. And that goes down to a depth rating of 12 meters or 39 feet compared to 10 meters or about 30 feet for the GoPro Hero 13 Black. But that said, I always recommend using a dive housing with your action cameras underwater in the ocean. So that does give an edge up on the GoPro because you can see what you're filming selfie style on that front LCD screen. Now, the reason I recommend a waterproof case is for a number of different reasons. First of all, it lets you dive to greater depths, which is very helpful if you're scuba diving or an avid freediver who can exceed those camera depth ratings. Second, it adds an extra layer of protection in case you get an eyelash or a piece of lint or a grain of sand on the O-ring of one of these hatch doors that compromises the seal and creates a flood. The housing is also much cheaper to replace if you scratch the front screen on your BCD, clipping it off, or in the camera rinse bucket. And then finally, particulate, gunk, stuff from the water, sand can get into those microphone holes or even jam up some of the cool accessories like the magnetic mount that does make the both cameras really fun to use without the housing. So it's totally up to you, but for scuba diving, seriously, I recommend getting the dive housing. I've got links to them in the description. Focusing on the front of the cameras again, you'll see that GoPro added these grooves where the microphone is under the lens, and that the Ace Pro 2 now has a radically different wind guard that protrudes from the camera and sticks out. Now, you would remove this to go diving with the camera in the water and instead use a mic cap to cover up that microphone port. Now, there are many more specs we can cover between the Ace Pro 2 and the Hero 13, but the big one is that the Ace Pro 2 features a dual AI chip. So instead of one chip and processor handling everything the camera does, the Ace Pro 2 uses a Pro imaging chip for AI noise reduction and image processing, like the underwater color correction that we'll see, and a second 5nm AI chip for processing everything else that the camera does. The GoPro has that single chip in it still. In looking at optics, the GoPro features a proprietary lens per usual, and the Ace Pro 2 features an updated Leica Summerit lens. Okay, enough specs, let's get these cameras in the water and see what they do. In these underwater video clips, you'll see that the Ace Pro 2 is on the left and the Hero 13 is on the right. The clips are straight from the camera using the equivalent settings you see on the screen. I configured a preset in each camera to easily switch between the settings. Check out my Ace Pro or Ace Pro 2 reviews for details on how to do this. I'm immediately seeing a difference in the sunny shallow water footage with higher contrast and bolder colors from the Ace Pro 2. Detail in the shadows is also better and less noisy. It feels more ready to share on social media. Here the quality is much closer with the GoPro delivering warmer tones. But here's the truth, it got cloudy on me, which I knew would really put the low light performance of these cameras to the test, so it worked out. Let's descend and see what happens as we lose a lot more ambient light and start to pick up some of the colors on the reef. So I'm starting to see a brighter image and better color coming from the Ace Pro 2 on the left. And we're going to start to move under the Kelp Force canopy here. This shot would win a last place award in a contest probably, but shows you how dark it is under the clouds, which are under the dense kelp canopy in some mediocre viz. And here I got to the edge where there was a bit more ambient backlight on this kelp rockfish, and we can clearly see that the Ace Pro 2 is handling the low light much better with more contrast and clarity in the darker areas, plus more overall image brightness. Look at the pink of the encrusting coralline algae here, and the white of the giant spine starfish, even the blue water and kelp in the background. The color on and around this lingcod is really nice from the Ace Pro 2 as well. And people really like selfies, so here you go. Here I'm on the edge of the kelp bed with as much ambient light as possible, maybe 25 or 30 feet deep. And keep an eye on this scene because I'm going to turn on a 4300 lumen video light and you'll see the colors respond. Boom, right there. And we've got the reef in the background. And here's another one, turning on those lights, and you'll see the colors respond here with that artificial light. Let's bring it back to the Ace Pro 2 and some of its features. The camera is intuitive and very easy to use. I found that it was really simple underwater. The presets, if you're a little bit more of an advanced shooter, make it more advanced, but also super easy to use. That footage we saw was straight out of camera, and that's what you would share on social media if you were shooting in those dark, overcast dive conditions like I was. In clear water, on a sunny day, you can expect to have beautiful color coming out of the camera. In terms of features, what else? We have clarity zoom on the Ace Pro 2, which is now operable inside of the dive housing, unlike on the Ace Pro. So that allows you to zoom in on your subject underwater while you're shooting, which is huge because you can get closer to smaller subjects, or if you're far away and there's a minimum focus distance you can't exceed, you can punch in closer, or if there's something farther away like your dive buddy, you can zoom in to see it. Maybe it's a shark swimming by. The screen, and the reason I'm showing this to you on land instead of underwater is because the screen is so bright actually on the back, brighter than the Hero 13, a bit brighter than the Ace Pro, and I think it has 70% more pixels than the previous Ace Pro, so better resolution and image quality on this LCD screen. But in the dark dive conditions, this is so bright you couldn't see it. So here we are, more even exposure. Let's take a look at what clarity zoom actually does. The Ace Pro 2 is obviously inside of the dive housing, but to access clarity zoom inside of the housing, before you put the camera inside, you need to go into the menu and go to customizable power button and set that so that while shooting, the power button function is clarity 1x, 2x. Once that is set, you can do this, which is where you are recording, and we're recording underwater here. You simply hit the power button, and now you've zoomed in 2x on the footage. You hit the power button again, and now you're back out to the regular field of view. And the footage, as you'll see right here, looks perfect zooming in and out. And now you're back out to the regular field of view. The Ace Pro 2 also shoots 50 megapixel still images, great underwater, surface, travel, time-lapse, whatever that might be. And it's got gesture control, which is really convenient if you have the camera out on a selfie stick. You can start and stop the recording very simply, or if you're setting the camera on a tripod above or underwater, right, you can control it with that gesture control, which is awesome. In terms of battery, the battery has a fast charging capability that goes up to 80% in just 18 minutes. So that's a fraction of your surface interval. You can bump up that battery power and you're ready to go for your next dive, or shoot multiple dives if you're using the camera and shooting selectively. A note I actually just thought of is if you are diving with the Ace Pro 2 outside of the dive housing, we mentioned this wind guard, but you can pop that off just like that. And then you put on the mic cap here and it just slides on. There's an arrow instruction. Boom. So now you're good to go dive. Remember that you want to put this on before diving. And if you're going to be recording audio on the surface, make sure to pop that back off and pop back on the wind guard. Both come with the camera. Finally, Insta360 offers very simple and very intuitive AI editing via their app. So I highly encourage you to check out the app if you want to do simple editing and have AI pick out highlights for you, or take advantage of any of the features in that powerful software to get you going for your posts on social media or sharing video with your family or whatever that might be. Be sure to check out my other videos and the links in this video description for the accessories you need to shoot the Ace Pro 2 underwater. Leave your comments, feedback, suggestions, anything you're thinking of in the comment section below. Subscribe if you're cool, and I will see you in the next video.